Hey guys, Mark here, and we are recording the third video of this playlist, Call to Arms. The overall goal is to persuade non-programmers to learn to code at work. I don't really want to record this video because I don't think that talking or arguing about programming languages is a good use of time. I think that the direction that we're trending, your ability to be indifferent towards languages will become more pronounced, okay? So I had this quote I adapted: great minds talk about ideas, average minds talk about events, small minds talk about people, and the smallest of minds argue over programming languages. So I resent that I need to defend VBA, but it is so hated by programmers and developers that no matter what you read or where you go, people are going to shit on VBA. And so I not only do I want to say that it's the only one you can use out of the box at work without permission, but far more importantly, I actually think it is the perfect language for most of the activities that you're doing at work. So, the idea here is commercial software is not reaching and penetrating into offices, all right, in a full manner. Otherwise, people would not be using like crazy Excel templates. There are 1 billion Excel users in the world, and every office has a template. Okay, it's impossible to be an appraiser, and not have some kind of template where you can input data and it travels to the various other areas of the template. So it's not working, and okay, these videos, I think I want my videos to be perfect, and they just can't be. But in trying to make them perfect, I make them worse. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a disconnect, and that there's all this work being done in Excel that shouldn't be done, and that business professionals and analysts who work in Excel are in this really cool position to fast track a learning and discovery into coding and system design by sort of hijacking Excel VBA and using this add-in that I'm providing you. There's a saying like, necessity is the mother of invention. And that's crucial to why I think you're going to succeed. The domain is complicated. That's why your clients, pay you guys to do what you do. Is there's a lot of nuance and subtlety, and it's just lost on software engineers. So in Excel, you have the full freedom to make your own formulas and build tables how you like. And it's not that a software engineer couldn't understand it, but there's translation loss. It's frustrating to translate and convey. And it's much easier to just make it in Excel with formulas yourself. So I'm just proposing you upgrade your formulas and actually look at the full sort of 360-degree view you can get when you bring code, into your workbooks where you already work, and I think that it will be explosively fun if you do it. So that's what I'm trying to convince you. All right, let me see. Okay, so here, in this second video, basically why work, because of the necessity thing that I just said, but other reasons too, like time. You don't want to be doing Code Academy at night to learn Python or something, since you can't use Python at your day job. But I just want to walk through and basically we'll look at what we were looking at the end of that video, and then move towards to VBA, which is this video should be, we'll call it Why VBA. Okay, so the fundamental question is will you try to code, yes or no, and then will you succeed? All right? I guarantee that you can do it, okay? Anybody can, with enough effort and pain and suffering, you could do it. But the question of whether you succeed, I think more practically speaking, is will you remain interested long enough to get addicted? So, looking at addiction, we basically, any activity or anything that you're doing, right, if the good stuff, which is green, okay, is bigger than the bad stuff, you're going to do better. So I moved this over here to sort of see. In this case, we've got badness, right? So this is when like you are coding and you're struggling with your environment. You can't even get the code to run. You know, I was doing some stuff in C# like a while ago, and I had to install Microsoft Visual, whatever, and people are like, how does Mark not know about Microsoft Visual and yet do all this stuff in VBA? This is why I hate the videos. We're just gonna keep going. The visual install, it just sucked. It was like a pain in the ass, and I thought to myself, it's like, it's a good thing this isn't my first freaking language, because I'd be really sad right now. So when you get to a surplus, which is like the good is by far outweighing the bad on a typical day. You're getting useful things done, you're having fun, you're learning new things. You're always going to be getting blocked by things. In fact, overcoming these pink things is how you can grow the green. But this is the state that you want to be in. Because I'm in that state, it's not going to be a big deal for me to weather a really bad day installing Microsoft Visual, whatever. And I liken it to like anaerobic versus aerobic. When you're in this bad state, you are forcing yourself. Like, I've got to keep going, all right? And you don't have a very solid foundation or like bed of coals, like in a fire of knowledge to sort of rest on. So you get discouraged and whatever. And so the goal of the add-in and part of the appeal of Excel VBA is you can almost instantly get to this point. Like I'm talking about within hours, without waiting, without permission, without anything, you can get to an aerobic, meaning like someone who's running a marathon. They can just keep going. They can keep that clip. And the analogy that I'll give you is like you're taking off on a plane. Where is it? It's like you're either going to make it or not. You're either going to get into coding and become a productive, someone who can use code to do things confidently and have fun with it, or you'll fall short, okay? Like if you're jumping across a chasm, I believe that would be the right word. And you're 2 inches short, you're gonna fall down the pit, okay? So whether you're 2 inches short or 50 yards short, it doesn't matter. Like, it's all or nothing, at least to me. And so I look at it as runway, okay? This is an airplane runway, your plane is here, and you're gonna take off. You start off in a deficit because you don't know anything, okay? So it's like you're gonna have to acquire a little bit of information. You start off in a deficit, and depending how much willpower you have, and depending what roadmap you're following, you are gonna hit this liftoff point at some point, okay? But if you don't make it here because your willpower goes out, you're like, this sucks, dude. I'm just gonna go back to my thing. Too bad. And so my goal is basically to use this add-in is like designed to just like bring you into code in a way where you can actually write permanent, commercial, I don't know the right word, economically useful tools for your colleagues. And far more importantly, you can build a mental model that'll stay with you for life. And VBA, like, as a language, the concepts are they're gonna transfer over to Python or whatever language you want to learn. They'll transfer. Kind of losing my voice. Sorry. Let's pause a second. Okay, I drank some water. So, that's my goal, is to basically get you off the runway and get you in the air. And then we'll talk about landing. We'll talk about landing, but you have a lot of advantages in landing as well. Maybe I will mention one right now, is that you can build software that is incomplete. Okay, I call it incoherent. If you're selling a commercial solution, you can't go with like a 20% built project and sell it, okay? But when you are working internally in an office, you can incrementally say, hey, here's this tool. How does it work? Get feedback and grow it over time. And you have this deep domain understanding of the problem that your colleague is giving you feedback on, where you can just iterate and create new versions, right there. There's this whole thing they call the software development cycle. It's like this, sort of. That's actually not, but in any case, this is your typical flow, and it's like, it's like this is what we're doing. We're putting you with the code. All right? So in short, or should I say, like, that's landing the plane. In long is like my aim is for you to be able to, that you don't have to be a tough guy, like having a lot of willpower, right? That's a tough guy. You're just like, you're trooping it out. The point is about not having to be tough in the first place, by getting to a spot of high dopamine and like, shooting live rounds where it just feels fun. Okay. Okay. Well, let's look at toil over time. Let me consult my note a sec. Okay, toil over time. So, if you're just looking at like the good stuff. So toil is bad. That's the red stuff over here. This is toil. This is green. There's some toil for you. Toil over time is like if you're doing Code Academy. There isn't really any toil with Code Academy. I'm actually sure it'll be pretty easy to just click through and get confetti. But there isn't also any like really excitement or any action. So I said that like this reward when you're doing Code Academy, the reward is long deferred, it's hazy and abstract, and it's speculative. Okay, you're learning a language that probably you're not going to be able to use at work. Okay, so forget professional stuff and harnessing the necessity is the mother of invention. All right, and now I'm comparing that with the add-in. It's like, dude, you're gonna get one file, put it in a folder, and you're gonna immediately start to be able to build models and write code using objects that are the things you work with. So I define this sort of progression of dopamine: immediate, concrete, and certain. It's the opposite of these three. You're not waiting for a long deferred thing. You're not waiting for permission. You're just getting in there and swimming, and it is really fun. I'll try to show that in another video. I'll show a lot of fun videos because I think dopamine is important. Toil and isolation. This is just pointing out that bad stuff will happen all the time, right? And the more that you code and the more that you do, the more sort of things that will come up. The better you are, the better you need to be. But what matters is the balance, okay, of bad stuff and good stuff. And so, you want to be in a surplus, and you want to stay in a surplus. And I compare it to like fitness. I used to run a lot, and it was always hard for me to take a day off. So here you need willpower to get yourself to code. Here you need willpower to say, I need to stop. I have to go write a report or whatever the hell you have to do. Like, it's hard to stop. And that is where you want to be, because at that point, nobody from IT or anyone is going to be able to persuade you otherwise. Okay. These are just some of my notes down here. I'm going to cut. All right, most ADHD video ever. The next reason in support of VBA is I want to look at these trends. Okay, they're just 4 trends, and think through them, because I think that also can matter for language selection. Okay, so AI model capability in 18 months, where's it going to be? Are they going to be better? Is ChatGPT going to be worse, slightly worse, way better? And I think the answer is it's going to be slightly better or better. I don't really want to go into it. I think that probably this is not a contentious issue. That's just where it's probably going to be. Cost is coming down. It is so cheap right now. It is already so cheap. I have a little thing in the add-in where it like tells you the cost of a prompt. When you send a prompt and you get the response back, it tells you like the US dollar cost. And it's not in the API. So when you get the response back, It tells you the amount of like input and output tokens, okay? And then you can go on their website and you can get, the current cost. But they don't give it to you in the API. So basically I hard code it in the add-in like what the current rates are. But like every time I look at it, those rates are going down. So it's like a good problem to have, I guess. You can freeze your screen here if you want. All right, hallucination trends. So, hallucinations, if you don't know, is like when the chatbot just totally makes something up. It happens, a fair amount. I think that's basically going to remain the same. Maybe it'll get a little bit better. When I Googled it, most of the articles, let's see. No, let's Google it. Worse than ever, getting worse, but its hallucinations are getting worse, probably. This one here said that it was getting better. So I actually clicked on that one and went in, but it doesn't really say that. Basically, I think hallucinations will remain the same, and that has really important implications. This I don't really want to talk about, and it's going to be cheesy. That's the last trend. So you have 4 trends. You have, models are going to be more capable, a little bit better. Hallucinations are going to stay the same. Cost is going to come down, and it'll still be cheesy. Okay, there's something quintessential about humanness, and no offense, ChatGPT, but like I just, you know what I mean. You can tell when something is written by a chatbot, and it's very, I don't know. I think the long of the short is I think that particularly hallucinations and cheesiness are reasons that humans will remain involved in business, commercial processes, okay? The roles and stuff will change, but you're never going to escape like the hallucination. I don't want to say never. But the hallucination issue isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Someone will have to ratify the output that comes from these things. The partner that is, reviewing the final report, he doesn't want to go in there and ratify, that the employment growth was actually 3.9% because ChatGPT hallucinated and it was really only 2.1%. All right? So mechanical systems that can validate that, humans that can review it. That way, if it is wrong, like quite frankly, if it's wrong, the partner is going to want to point to a human and say, it was my junior analyst, it's human error. Okay, and that's fine. To err is human, and apparently to err is also, inhuman AI. But the point is, when the error is made by a human, or you can point to a human using AI who failed to conduct a review, I think it makes more sense to clients versus the client saying, if a partner said, I'm going to use AI, I'm going to do my whole report, and then he gives it to the client, and the client's like, where did you get this figure? Like, it's just sort of indefensible to have errors from hallucinations. It's professionally irresponsible to not be validating and checking back all of the data that comes. So, let me pause. Okay, so the takeaways from the models getting better, we talked just now, takeaways from hallucinations and cheesiness, but takeaways from models getting better is that essentially one human can do more work, across the board in all industries, but particularly in software and building software. So like looking at this diagram that we looked at earlier, one of the things that makes it hard, like the example I gave, the 3.9% employment growth hallucination, is it's hard to disprove. It's hard to know that's wrong. But when you're writing code, like when ChatGPT makes a mistake, like it manifests right away. You'll get an error, okay? Or the program won't do what you expected. So it's much easier for you to verify right away. And that is, I think, what makes it like so useful for coding. It's not going to help you, ChatGPT will also do things like that are bad long-term decisions, okay? I I mean, it makes a lot of really great decisions, actually. But I guess my point is that not every wrong or bad thing it tells you will manifest right away with coding. But most things will, and it's a huge thing for you to to be able to have that at your disposal. It knows all about VBA, the ins and outs. Okay, so takeaways. If we can do more stuff, okay, if one programmer can do more, like basically the cost of producing software will go down, okay? If the cost of, say that in order to build apartments in downtown Dallas, you generally need at least 20 units, okay, in order to amortize all the sort of fixed structural costs that come with building an entire apartment complex. You try and do 10, there's just not going to be enough rent. It's not going to pencil out. Okay, if the cost of materials or labor falls by 50%, all right, suddenly now a 10-unit deal in downtown Dallas might become feasible, okay, because the cost is lower. So I think that it's the same that would apply in software, that basically lowering the cost of getting this knowledge and of doing the things that a software engineer does all day due to LLMs, like, means a much broader pool of software can be built. So I looked at it like this, of like, this is sort of, you could think of the blue as the size of the user base or number of paying customers, revenue, whatever. It's just like, how big is it, okay? And at the far extreme of like the full box, that's, you know, Facebook and Google, Spotify, I call it Battleship Galactica, okay? And at the other end, way down here, is a VBA golf cart. And basically these little projects, something small and boutique, it may not have been cost feasible to get it done, you know, in 2019 or before Sam Altman blew us all away. But now it is. And I just don't think that the equilibrium has like adjusted yet, that human society has adjusted. And I think that the future of software, if you were to look at it from a bird's eye view, it would be like a small, there'd be like a patchwork, you know, like you're flying in an airplane and there's all the little squares, like a mosaic of smaller projects. Instead of these giant battleships, you'll see a lot of small projects that are sort of built for a specialized purpose by one of these hybrid business analysts, you know, coder super warriors I'm trying to develop in you. That's what it'll look like. All right, so 2 other things on this. Languages are more portable, okay? So I'm talking about trends and the implications from them of you know, low inference costs, better models, and you know, humans getting better at prompting. Like, languages will be more portable. You'll be able to change a language from VBA to Python to Java or whatever. I don't know that you'll need to or that you'll want to, but my only point is that code and moving logic around, it'll just be easier to do. All right. What I write, portability is supportive of language indifference, and language indifference is supportive of VBA. All right. So what's that kind of a neg compliment to VBA? Vibe coding. I feel like I had to say something about it since what we're doing is like so in line with it. And I think, what do I think about vibe coding? I think it's a real thing, but that it's a little bit misunderstood. I saw this really great article from this guy. He said it's a bad name. And what he basically says is it gets a name as like being like really easy. You just kind of like whisper into Composer and then there comes the program. And I don't think that really will work for a majority of people. I'm sure it works for some people, but I don't think that's going to work in a business setting. I don't know. But at the same time, I think that pair programming, if you will, with ChatGPT is just like, it's amazing. So he says, what does he say? Everyone should learn to code. Okay, I'm with him. Everyone should learn, you know, and he says, people have been advising others to not learn on the basis AI will automate it. And he says, I think that'll be some of the worst career advice ever. I have nothing to add except that I agree. 150%. Okay. Pause.